Jimmy.
And next
So the public will see the back of your head.
Yes.
Yes, and we are that.
That might be.
It marks, yeah.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Not sure what
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. All right, so call to order, Peg Zugaby.
Yeah.
Mark Geller is here, Raj Amar.
Here.
Tim Riley. Yeah. Okay, I don't have any action items. I have no old business. The treasurer's report is for March and April for REAC. Just
Usual suspect.
usual, both months. One was for our compliance, the other one was for our bookkeeper, and I believe the same for the prior month. Confirming that.
Yeah.
So that's that. And any questions about that?
I'll make a motion to
Motion to
accept.
accept. Okay, and with that said, I will, I guess we can adjourn, and I'll read the minutes, call to order, 11 o'clock.
You wanna vote on the motion?
Oh, yeah, I guess you could say all in favor?
Second.
Yeah, okay.
Come on,
Sorry.
Come on, Mark.
REAC, okay. Treasurer's report. Okay. Raj, okay. I guess if everybody's all in favor. Okay, and then read the minutes, call to order at 11 o'clock, no action items, no old business, no new business. Treasurer's report, the board reviewed and approved the financial reports for March and April. And that's it, motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. She'll second.
Okay, so we adjourned at 11:06. Thought you'd be quick. All right. Okay, IDA, yes, called meeting to order. Mark Geller, Peg Zugaby, Raj Amar, Tim Riley. Okay, all present. Okay, the first order of business is the Ginsburg Development Corporation, proposed pilot that has been, pulled, so it's no longer under consideration.
That was the second one.
No, that's actually the
This is
first
another
one on
one.
the agenda.
This is for the old.
Oh, it's the second pilot. They were anticipating leasing, that stone building to, the school district. And I learned on Monday that it's been not gonna happen. So, we'll leave it at that.
That's the same Ginsburg.
Yeah, but it's a different spot, a different part of the house, or something.
Okay, the next is an inducement resolution involving, Tower Research Capital, just as a point of, I'll just give an overview, then I'll turn it over to the gentleman that, Tower Research Capital is a tenant at a facility. They have a current presence down in Palisades, I believe, and they are looking to expand significantly in both that facility and the data center's owner, whose name is Peter Skay, up at their Orangeburg facility, on Corporate Drive. This involves sales tax only for a significant, commitment of equipment with up to $150 million in data equipment. With that said, I will turn it over to the gentleman. Introduce yourselves, tell us about Tower, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so I'll start. So my name is Cedric Leboul. I'm French, so sorry for the accent. So I've been at Tower for 15 years, roughly. Right now, I'm in charge of infrastructure for the company. I report directly to our CEO, Albert Anne. And
my name is Rohit Karnani. I'm with Tower Research again for 15 years. Manages the Data Center Center for Engineering for Americas.
So maybe I should introduce a little bit the company. That's okay. Right. So Tower has been around for like 25 years. I call it Tower. We all call it Tower. So we do plenty of things. We trade equity, future, FX, cryptocurrency. We do pretty much everything that people can trade. We are everywhere in the world. So big presence in the US, of course, Canada, South America, Europe, Asia, China. So we are a bit everywhere. And roughly the company is 1,200 people. So it's a mix between between pure trading capacity and what we call support function, which is us people, building infrastructure, HR, finance, all these functions. So we have roughly 40 trading teams in our company. So they are all independent, and we treat them as almost as clients. So that's how we work between infrastructure and trading team. So the company was founded in '98 by Mark Gorton. You can look him up. And since that day up to today, we've been just expanding. So we started, as I was saying, with US equity. In 2000, we moved to future. In 2003 to US treasuries. In 2006 to FX, and it kept going. And recently, obviously, cryptocurrency has, been quite a profitable source of revenue for us. We have diversified strategy. So most people know us because of HFT, so low latency trading, very intensive in terms of infrastructure. But we also now do a mix of strategy that are more medium term. So we are trying to diversify a little bit of source of revenues. And more recently, we've expanded into corporate bond trading, actually, which is it's very, very recent this year, actually. Anything to add on this time?
No, I think
Okay.
So why are you here?
Yeah, okay, we can talk about this directly. So, like many companies, we've adopted the cloud because it was easy and we were able to scale a lot there. And now we are revisiting that strategy, and we want to have a more mixed balance between cloud and on-prem, which is renting data center. So you can guess the reason. They are usually economical reason, right? But there's also balancing our risk, right? I would say. And so why we're here is because, as it was pointed out, right, we have a data center currently which is fairly small. And as you probably have heard in the news, everyone is on top of GPU, a lot of power, a lot of compute, and we are going back with a lot more machine learning type of strategy, and we need a lot more power. So we are constrained in our current data center, right? So that's why we are exploring opening that data center in Orangeburg, where we actually feel like we will be able to go. So that's it.
And you just picked Palisades because that's where most of the people are for data?
that's right. I mean, it's closer to New York where our headquarters is, right? So that's the reason we choose Palisade. And now for the expansion is in the Orangeburg, which is again close by.
So your current facilities in Palisades?
Yes, that's right. For our compute, for our research compute. And just to add that it doesn't need compute to be locally over here. It could be anywhere globally, right? It gives us an advantage that because it's closer, I mean, utilities globally are much more cheaper, right? Outside of New York. But then again, for the reason why we are here is to make it much more attractive and much more compelling to continue to stay in Orangeburg.
So in Orangeburg, are you gonna build out the building? Is it gonna be addition to the building, or
No.
you're gonna stay in
But
the footprint of the building that's there?
absolutely,
That's correct. Even though there will be work required to meet our demand of power, right? It's large compared to what we can deliver, but there is a plan and it's absolutely doable. But there will be some work involved here for sure.
Okay. And Orange Rockland has no problem with supplying the power you need?
So it's been already facilitated to get to like 4 megawatt right now. Orange County has kind of like approved it before.
Okay.
Right now it is at one megawatt. So we can go up to 4.
So you're gonna use up what's been allocated to you from the beginning?
Right,
Okay.
absolutely.
But we will need, I think it's good to say it as well, data centers are kind of changing, right? It's a lot of liquid cooling now. So we need to bring new equipment, new cooling infrastructure. So a lot of work will still be involved for us.
If approved, how long is this the sales tax exemption for?
I think it scratches up with your lease, I think it
Correct, 5 years.
5 years, right?
Yes.
How many? I need
5.
Okay.
So do you have an extension on the lease or not? Or is it just 5 years?
So we can actually get an extension if need be in future.
I would recommend you get it now before later. I mean, an option, I'm not telling you you have to get an extension, you get an option. Because 5 years from today, both will be in different place.
Yes, that's a fair point, yeah.
Just out of curiosity, does proximity to the exchange impact your agency anymore?
So for research, as Boyd said, we can be anywhere in the world. For trading, yes, of course, you need to be very close to the exchange, but for research, we could be pretty much anywhere.
Would it, I know this is a bit of a leading question, but I know it's based on my conversations with you and also with Peter Skay, that, the sales tax exemption we're offering is a key factor in
That's correct. Yeah, so we've led, we've done an analysis, obviously, of oversight. Raj was talking about Canada, right? Definitely, we looked at many options, right? Indeed, the sales tax exemption makes it very appealing to stay in New York, for sure.
How will this impact your taxes, you know, or will it impact it at all? In other words, or you don't worry about that because you have the lease and that's Peter Skate's problem?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, I answered my own question. I do that a lot.
Watch.
I'm good.
Did you check with them, if they're not paying fees in Bitcoin?
This is off the rails at a certain point. I'm gonna try to avoid-
PSU Arsenal today.
Oh, yeah, so for the second.
Oh, yeah, big time.
I guess if there is no other questions, then I would ask if someone wanted to make a motion.
I'll make a motion, I'll make a motion.
And is there anyone wants a second? Who said?
Mark said
Mark
it.
did.
Mark, okay, Mark won that one? Okay. Okay, so I'll call roll. Mark Geller, Peg Zugaby,
Yeah.
Raj Amar,
Yes.
Tim Riley. So you're approved and you're induced. What that means is, that's, you can now, if you go forward, you can count on getting the benefit. What'll happen, and I do know that time is a factor, so what'll happen is, I'll ask Heidi if we can get a public hearing
Yeah, we'll get
scheduled.
moving on that right away, so that should
There's a-
probably be in 2 weeks.
Public hearing is gonna be held, you do not have to attend, in fact, it's a one-way communication, public, public wants to provide us with any input regarding the benefits or whatever. I don't anticipate, this is opinion, I don't anticipate anybody's gonna come to public hearing. And even if you were to come, it wouldn't be a forum for you to talk. You know? So there's no reason for you to come. And then our next step would be an authorizing resolution, which is the final approval that takes into account any public comment, which I don't anticipate there will be any. I'm anticipating giving schedules and with the with the month and school getting out, probably in early June, right after, early June meeting, will take place. And if I would suggest, given your timing is critical, perhaps having councils, talk to my councils, and we can kind of get a jump on that. So the closing documents and everything are kind of in place. If this works, I'm surprised my own councils with this timetable.
No, as long as, once we have the public hearing and you're authorized, then we have to be in touch with your council to do the closing for the benefits.
But it's a pretty straightforward process at that point. We can, we'll make sure, like, if the councils are communicating, we can make sure we're not losing time just from simply, documents and things going back and forth. We get a jump on. And we'll talk more.
All right.
Yeah. So, thank you,
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So, Roy, John, and Cindy?
And as I said, you're welcome to stay.
Oh, okay.
All the
I take it.
assessors.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
very good.
Just from a process perspective. You guys can step back, see if there's any discussion before we take a vote, I don't know.
No, actually, we can't.
Yeah.
No, it's all gotta
And
be
that's
public.
something, but they have to be sitting there and nobody
Yep.
discuss.
Unless you have a legal question, then you can move to executive session, it has to be, but yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, the public meeting rules are very specific about
Okay. Or something every day.
it. I remember sitting-
the whole public will be watching on the street.
Yes,
That's right, our
many,
ordinance.
many viewers.
I know I used to, just on that point, it's funny, I used to sit, I will leave the entity unnamed, but I used to sit on the zoning board of appeals. And every single meeting they would go into executive, they'd say, people would talk, and they'd say, okay, let's go to executive session. And then say, okay, so what do you think? And we're like, at every meeting, say, this is illegal, you can't do this. And every single meeting they did. And every meeting I would say the same thing, and the attorney would say the same thing, and they would do it anyway. You know, that's, you
I
can't
had
have
to
that
miss
a
a
public
meeting
hearing.
where
I mean,
I
your
wanted-
point is good,
Yeah.
it doesn't, this doesn't lend itself to a candid conversation, but.
But we could still zoom in, I had to miss a meeting, that I really wanted to be at Boise. And, you have to publish my home address
Address, yeah,
in case anybody wants to come there.
Yeah.
And sit
and watch the.
and watch, yeah.
Right, that's by
Because it's
law,
part of the, by
and that's
law.
the same with us. That
So
you
I
said
had to
that
publish my home address and say that I was part of the public meeting in case
And
anybody.
anybody could walk in and sit in your living room next to you.
And anybody can come in, I have to let them in.
All right, so,
You want to be on this committee, bachelor one.
Well, now I'm the president, I make sure I'm there in person.
so the next matter is, it's really a follow-up to the, if you recall at our last meeting, we proposed a minor amendment to our labor policy requiring that the projects maintain a folder, binder, with all the information
Right.
that we needed for, our low-key grill, as well as for Heidi for compliance purposes. All I need, and I talked to Dan, who worked it, all I need now is, we have the policy, all we need is you to do a voice vote, we don't need a formal written resolution, just adopting that policy change.
It's on your iPad, it's highlighted in yellow, the portion that changed, it's very simple language, just requiring the binder.
Yeah, it's not changing the spirit of
No.
the agreement or anything like that.
Will you help them with the binder?
No, they keep it on site, I mean, if they have questions, obviously.
I know,
they can
would you help them know what to reply for the binder?
Oh, yeah, of course, of course.
So it's implied in that first sentence that the binder belongs to the company?
Yes. Because we don't want to,
No, I know, we don't
Yeah.
want it, but I'm saying that's clear enough for everybody to understand that, that they're the ones who,
yeah,
that it's their binder.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't even get the one.
It's, yeah, just access.
you have to
So-
just get the numbers, I don't even get the names,
Yeah.
I don't get any information, just numbers.
So if that's acceptable to anybody, if someone wanted to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll say.
Okay, and Mark Geller, Raj Amar, Peg Zugby,
Yeah.
Tim Riley. Okay. The next item, RCC scholarship recipients, that's actually gonna be tabled, I think we
Isn't that just the thank yous, is that this?
Well, so the students were going to come, but
Oh,
because of the
okay.
time of year, they're just.
They're all actually
Yeah, they're all
finals
in
and everything.
finals, so they asked if we could push that off to later in the summer, but they did write thank you notes to
Okay.
the board, our two recipients this term. So I thought that was nice.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Next order of business is our labor compliance report, I don't believe, I don't know if there's anything in there that jumps out.
This time is always short.
There is the congregation that's, that only has 4 people. Is that 4? No, that's the site.
Yeah, on their, site visit day,
Yeah.
they were at,
Good.
they were at 18 workers, 50%, 9 were out of the area. Mostly because of, it looks like Flooring Express, which I don't know how long they'll be there. Overall, they were at 78% for the month. We got these reports this morning, so I haven't talked to Kevin yet to see if there's any follow-up on that, but
We're finding as a note to that, as we're just adding more and more projects, the
yeah, we get it closer, it goes
gathering of the
farther into
data,
the,
and that's gonna, that ties back to the binder, making the whole process more efficient.
Right, just if you talk to Kevin, ask him to follow up on that.
Sure. Will do. Yeah.
The next matter, old business, I'm gonna ask Heidi to talk to it about the expenditure guidelines, and if you recall at our last meeting, apart from having gentleman Carlos from Bridges talk, I think Mark, in fact, you introduced some questions as far as let's put some structure to this, let's talk about that. This policy, proposed policy guideline, kind of speaks to that. I'm gonna, Heidi, if you wanna give a,
Yeah, everyone has it in front of you, and I sent it to you, so hopefully you had a chance to look it over. But we put together this, a mission statement, kind of a program overview of what we want to accomplish, and then requirements for submitting the proposal to us, so we can kind of streamline that, and also put some of the onus on the projects for telling us how they're going to be reporting, how the funds are gonna be used, to keep that consistent through all projects. We went through the selection criteria. I know last meeting, we went through that point system, that Camoin had given us. That's not in this document, but the selection process is based on that process.
That percentage is, to me, is a workshop, so to speak, for us to use.
Yes.
We don't wanna give that to the applicant.
Correct, right, that's an internal document, but the selection criteria alludes to those
Yeah.
categories so that we can keep those two things consistent. We talked about adding an application timeline, so I put in here, and we're open to discussion on it, but September 1st to September 30th for applications to come in. We would review them from October to December, and then let applicants know about funding by January 15th. And then also the reporting requirements, which again, we really want to put the onus on the projects to let us know how they're gonna be reporting these. What are the matrix they're gonna be using, what are the outcomes? Because they know what they're doing better than we do. So read through it, we'd love to have feedback if there's anything missing, if there's anything you think we should add.
you talk about budget.
We went back and forth on budget. Of course, we know we are going to have a cap yearly. We didn't put a specific cap in this document, we just said that the board will make an annual decision for what that cap will be. So that the board can, based on resources and what you feel we should be doing, you can make that decision every year.
They're gonna look for guidance, so.
So we would probably make the cap before the funding period.
Like, for example, and sorry to jump in, like, for example, I could envision us saying at our, let's say, our March meeting where we adopt all of our compliance would be a good opportunity for us to say, okay, what's our bank account look like? Where do we anticipate, what's in the works? What do we expect our revenue? So we can make an educated, number. And I would say, we may want to say something to where, we may in our policy say will never be more than $1 million a year, for argument's sake. But the actual amount that we allocate for this is at the discretion of the board on an annual basis. I was a little worried about picking a number and us kind of saying that's the number.
Right.
No, but internally, we should have an update.
Yes.
Yes,
absolutely.
internally,
Internally,
yes.
yes, externally, no.
No, I think
Yeah,
the way it's
because
worded
then
is-
every
is
application
great,
we
but I
get
think
will go to the cap
they're
million
gonna look for
dollars.
guidance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, go ahead. No, please go.
No, I think that's a good idea, that's all. That will be the-
I was gonna say, just to, some things to think about, this is a little bit of a work in progress. Obviously with everything, I think, if we have a policy, to some extent, this will have to be on our website as a public document. But I think we have to have plenty of caveats, we'll turn to council for this, says any of these things are at the discretion of the board. I mean, if we open this up, if we put this out there, we're gonna get 1,000, right, ever. So one of the things that we have to determine is how do we want to, is this at the invite of this board? Or is it open to the world? Is it, there's things that we have to work through because we're gonna be saying no to more people than yes, obviously.
Well, I don't.
And again, these are open-ended questions.
Yeah, I don't think we publicize anything. It's already out there. We don't need to publicize it. If not this year, in the upcoming years, whenever that is, people will if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
That's what this is gonna happen, you know?
I
I
think
don't
so.
think we should publicize.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
somebody who wants it will find somebody to get it.
Yeah,
And they will inquire, and then we can let them know
Yeah.
that this
that's,
is our
yeah,
guidelines.
let them call us.
It wasn't.
If you publicize it, you're gonna get a lot of people that you don't want to, or may not qualify, just waste of time.
Right.
There are entities that pick these up and distribute them to their constituents, so people are always, there are entities that just scour for these opportunities.
Yeah, we tried to, in the making of
Who's that
this,
grant writers?
with the mission statement and the requirements, keep it specific enough so that it can stay workforce focused, but not be too restrictive that we miss things that we may want to take on as opportunities. So in your reading of it, see if that seems right to you, the amount of restrictions that we put in.
And I think another point, Heidi, that you had brought up was, you know, we don't have to get sucked into thinking that every time we do this, it has to be for $500,000, $200,000.
Yeah,
It's okay for us to give somebody that needs a helping hand, $1,000.
right. Yeah, the Art Council,
The Art Council's a
that
good
we
example.
approved, yeah, they're thrilled, they're so excited about this, and it makes a real difference. You know, that's a program they otherwise would not be able to have done at all.
All right, so,
Can I just,
yes,
like
please.
that, the Arts Council is like a one and done kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was for a specific thing, but some of these things may have like implications, like, you know, if you wanna look at the metrics, you wanna see how it's done. Is this gonna be an annual thing, and do you think like some of these goals can be met in a year?
Well, that's why
Or are
we
we
may do,
doing, you know, are we gonna say, well, here's this, you know, really what we were looking for, we don't think you can meet your goal in a year, we can make it a 2-year commitment.
And
Oh,
there
yeah,
are
like we did a
individual
3-year deal with
partnership
Joanna.
agreements.
Okay, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
so it's,
Oh, yeah,
so,
It's flexible.
Yeah, and each project would have, in addition to this, their own project agreement that council would draw up, outlining duration of term,
that's,
requirements.
so then
But
the
it's-
following
it's
year,
the-
if we're giving
Yeah.
We're
whatever
giving some.
pot, well, then we would take those off that pot.
Right,
Yes,
so
okay.
if it's a 3-year program, is it all accrued in the first year, or you just run out of funds in subsequent years?
I just
Right.
was,
Yeah,
yeah, that's,
right.
that was my
And you
question.
probably want to accrue it in the first year, right, because you know, the next year's gonna be great, right? So if someone wants a $250,000 program over 3 years, you book it. and you're
Right.
fine.
yes.
I mean, you can do it over 3 years too, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think
I
a
just
lot
know
of,
sometimes we get 3-year grants, sometimes we get 1-year
Right.
grants.
and I think we want to inherently lean towards, and this is from, again, Heidi's background of, you know, where she worked, you know, earlier in your career, where a lot of times they would look for grants, but they were always, salaries were excluded. Now, we don't have to make that exclusion, we're not bound by that, but I think there's a natural tendency that where we can be involved in equipment, furniture, fixtures, equipment,
Yeah, that
hard
is priority.
expenditures versus salaries, which,
Yeah, and I put in here a lot of restrictions around salaries, like in the application process, I'd like to see how those salaries become self-sustaining in the future.
Well, that's-
So if we help you with that first year, how does that job continue without our help? We'd like to see that up
That's
front.
how a lot of districts got into trouble with their COVID, they hired people.
Yeah.
And then once the COVID money went away, they had no way of sustaining it.
I
You know, like we built outdoor facilities, we put it in air, you know, we put it in structures so that it was done, the money was used for something.
One and done.
And it didn't have to carry over into the general fund out.
I guess the other question is, how do you release the funds also? Do you release them all at once? Do you release them on invoice? Do you need for backup?
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
like, it's interesting, we've gone both ways, like with BOCES, we are doing it in a reimbursement mode. We just got another request, they come to us sporadically and we write a check for $45,000 or, you know, $50,000
They
for,
bought
and they,
this, they
attack
bought that, yeah.
where, Giovanni, we gave them $250 and we're gonna give them another $250 provided they meet our goals next year.
I think the reimbursement model is preferable.
That's
But
what I
it-
would think.
It's
Yes,
not
I
always,
would like
But
that.
the nice thing about what we're doing is that we do have a little more flexibility than, say, a government grant. So I don't wanna restrict us from something we really would wanna be involved in if they don't have the money up front, as long as we feel financially it's a really solid proposal. So we did kind of write that in here.
so I would suggest we kind of shoot it over, we'll, you know, maybe we'll, based on this, we'll shape it a little bit more, and eventually, maybe next meeting, we'll ask the board to actually say, yep, this one.
Yeah, everyone has a copy of it, I emailed it to you, so it's a living document, we're happy to make changes,
start.
but it's a jumping
Yeah.
off point.
And Heidi, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, it was a very good first pass.
Yeah.
But it's pretty comprehensive.
Thank you, so.
Next item, it's not on the agenda, but I can ask, Sarah, why don't you talk a little bit about the artwork?
Sure, okay, I'm gonna start with, so you noticed our walls look different than they did than the last time you were here, most likely. So I'm gonna start with what's, in this room and on that wall. So Howard was able to get those, Howard Hellman from, RCC, as a donation
How much do
to
we
us.
sell them through for?
Well, there was, that's, you know, not for public, I'm kidding.
Live
Okay.
streaming, live streaming, folks.
Right, live streaming. So those were donations from these students. This is a temporary hanging system.
We're
We
gonna
didn't
make
want to
them
mar the
adjustments.
walls, we're gonna make a lot of adjustments, but we got them yesterday. So we wanted to get them up on the wall so you guys could see them. As you move around the room, we have 3 paintings here and I think 6 in the other room. If you have not noticed them, please do take a look. Those are all from Juanio. And we could not be happier with these pictures. Right now they are on loan. We are talking about doing a potential rotating exhibit. We're not sure, but now we are really in love with some of them and the way that they fit in this office. The works are impressive. If I went to Juanio to go over what they had, and I pretty much took all of them because it's a great community connection. So all of these pieces are from people in the community, and it helps keep us connected to another portion of the population that we serve and that we work with. So it's really been a wonderful experience, the whole thing. And we're looking to get a little bit more. And then as a side note, also create a small, simple file, quickly created, of, pieces that of the local communities that have art, in case businesses come into the area are looking for art to put on their walls from local artists.
That's what I was gonna ask,
we
is
can-
it for sale?
I was just gonna ask the same question.
We are working on, finding out if that's possible.
Yeah.
And getting a price list, in case, people who come in are interested in
Right,
purchasing
and,
as well.
and
Um,
then they can just,
And that would be something we would add, to give out to businesses if they were interested.
Or on the coffee table, just put a
Yep.
little note saying.
Oh, and there
what we
is-
are.
There is a little.
And there is also a description, those didn't come with, written like little cards. So, but they did come with descriptions on the back of the painting. So there is a framed piece, next to one of our plants, as you look at the exit. And that gives you a description. The descriptions are almost as beautiful as the artwork, which is really nice to see what the artist was thinking and what they saw when they painted those
Right.
portraits.
I know there is one photo out there.
Oh,
that's for
stop,
sale.
here we go.
Best offer.
If you promise to hang it.
I promise that you won't give it back to me when it has to go back to our house. Like, that's not happening. So that's that.
Okay.
All right. Okay, thank you, Sarah. Treasurer's report, again, March and April financials. Again, there's nothing jumping out that's unusual, just looking. If there's any questions or anything we can discuss, or again, as everyone knows, our expenditures are pretty predictable.
do we ever get audited by the controller's office?
No. Don't even invoke that word, now I've got to spread salt
I
on
mean,
the
we
ground.
just get audited by everybody.
No,
We have a
I,
claims auditor, an internal auditor, an next
Oh,
time.
God, I feel like
Yearly
I'm
audit.
just tempted to say discussing this, but, no, we haven't. I mean, and if
I
we
just
were,
didn't know if they did all municipalities.
I don't think they'll bother you because you have.
it's so straight, unlike a lot of IDAs, I mean, if we were, I'm kind of kidding about it, you know, it's only because it's very disruptive, you have to, you know,
Oh,
they
it's
come, they
just
plant
awful.
themselves and
I
they
know.
pull your records, but with us, if they did, I wouldn't be worried about the results. What would happen is our cash is coming in from project fees, your compliance fees, and that's it. And our money goes out of our bills, you know, for
Yeah.
operating. So it's a very,
The
it
stuff
wouldn't
that
be
we
a
do,
particularly hard audit,
our
but it's
internal
disruptive.
audit, we have an
I
internal
just
audit that
can't.
we do every year,
Every
that's
year.
very thorough.
Right, our independent audit,
Right.
We do an internal.
Right.
we do a full independent audit, and she's tougher,
Yeah,
so, which is good though.
we like her very much, she's
I'd rather
great,
have
but
that.
she keeps you on your toes.
I mean, I did.
We're all required by law to be independently audited,
Independently, but
Yes.
not,
but not by the state.
okay. So you're sending them an audited statement anyway.
Yeah, it's attached to our annual compliance report, and we all attach.
You also are in March.
They got their hands filled with other IDAs in the sense that, and I don't want to be redundant, they deal in buying property, developing property, who does what deal, as we all know, some of the things that happen in Orange County, things of that nature. We're here, we're kind of cut and dry, we
Oh,
have
yeah.
been in the past, so it hasn't been, a huge problem.
It's just, I know the stuff they pick on.
Yeah,
It becomes very, I experienced once years ago, Rockland Economic Development, which no one was audited.
Yeah.
And they turned that agency upside down for about a month. You know, it just is very disruptive.
that's why we have to be buttoned up with this, I'm gonna call it a grant, although it isn't a grant.
Partnership.
Yeah, the partnerships that we form, we have to make sure we've got everything buttoned up. And Lino and Rudy got everything they're on their toes, and they make sure we cover. Especially you, Rudy.
Excellent.
You should see my toes.
I'll make a motion on the treasurer's report.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, I guess you could just do all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'll read back the minutes and let's see, call to order. Action on introducing resolution was tabled and that project has been pulled regarding the GDC pilot. Houston Resolution Tower Research Capital. As fourth, provided an overview. Representatives of Tower gave an overview of their company and the need for the incentives. There were a variety of questions asked. Following discussion, motion by Raj Amar, seconded by Mark Geller, all in favor to induce the project. Labor policy, discussed the amending the labor policy requiring companies to provide a binder for employees. It was adopted, motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Peg, that would be all in favor. The board reviewed the labor compliance report, and let's see, all the expenditures. The board asked Heidi Van Diver to provide an overview of the proposed expenditure policy. Following discussion, it was redirected that we will work it towards more final form for, again, continuing review and eventual adoption by the board. Sarah talked about the artwork. I'll put more on that. And the board reviewed the treasurer's report, March and April financials, and was motion to accept them with Tim Riley, seconded by Peg Zutterby, all in favor. Motion to accept the minutes, and then we can, okay?
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
Yes.
No, someone needs to do that, not me, you guys.
So,
I just love this time of year,
this is just, I know technically, this isn't even in